Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture that you're about to see is called Annotata Oculus. My name is Darren Helley, and I was in charge of this production, and I may as well tell you frankly that it is a bit different from most films you've ever seen. Annotata Oculus is Latin for surveillance eye, which is what this film is, an eye of surveillance on the city. This story is about a certain group of people, and a story also of the city itself. This was not recorded in a studio. Oh, by the contrary. Tom Menary and Samuel Frain are stars. Kate McGoldrick and the rest of the cast play out their roles in the streets of the city. Let's begin our story this way. It's close to midnight on a cold February evening as we focus our attention to this woman. Her name is Isabella. Observe as she steps into the world of modernity, out of her shell once more, and attempts to go toe-to-toe with her adversities and fight the wrongdoers within her world.
Detective Smith, this is the coroner speaking. By the time you reach the crime scene and receive this message, I would have already arrived and departed, for I need to obtain the victim's personal files as soon as possible from the tests we've already carried out. The victim's body, however, still remains in its original position when first discovered. The team from the morgue will arrive in due time to collect the body and any highlighted items of importance towards the investigation. Good luck, Detective.
Test. This is Smith, investigating the discovery of a body around the southern waterfront of Madeira. The time is 9:27 AM, February 9th, 2005. From what I remember of that morning, I received a call from HQ about an inquiry regarding the discovery of a body. To me it seemed like another run-of-the-day murder. A young woman, taking the wrong turns, mixing with the wrong crowd. Nothing special seemed to really shout out at me at the time, though there's always that feeling that you're being observed upon. The coroner's voicemail gave me some relief and freedom to inspect the scene and roam around at my own comfort. Observation of the body's position in that proves that the murder did not occur in this location where the body was discovered. Several bloodied footpaths from above and below indicate that the body may have been dragged here, murdered prior, or assaulted even. The victim's skin is incredibly pale, indications that the murder occurred in the early hours of the morning. The architecture is placed that the skin might not have received sunlight. Irregardless, the likelihood is the murder occurred during the early hours of the morning, when the temperature is at its coolest. Bruising to the face, quite severe. Either the killer had an incredible punch or a blunt object may have been used in the murder. Rope burns around the neck. That's a way to go, isn't it? Possibly due to possible cause of death. But what came first, the bruising or the rope burns?
Why are you following me? I'm following you. I was here before.
Who are you?
Crockett, Jim Crockett. Stop it. Stop it.
Go on.
I work at the shipping department over there. I was just walking home from the night shift. And she was there. Is she okay? I saw her. I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry.
So, you telling me you forgot that you strangled a girl with a length of rope?
I didn't. She...
Right, that's it.
know.
Empty your pockets. Empty your pockets now.
I don't. I just...
Now, Crockett.
This is just the stuff in my coat. I don't...
Care to explain why you've got the same business card?
It's from Tina. It's the local club on the corner. I don't know her. I know of her. I recognise her now. I know of her. She's a dancer and I've never spoken to her.
I think you're lying through your teeth to
Never
me,
spoken
Crockett.
to her.
As for now, you're under arrest.
Why? I've done anything.
On the suspicion of murder. The next time you see me, I'll know more about you than you can possibly imagine. Now come on! Things started to get quite fishy when I walked into Captain Holly's office. He wasn't there. He was nowhere to be found. He left a small note explaining his absence, some sort of emergency in the other station, something like that. It was only then when I read the words, "You'll be partnering with a new detective. It's for your own good, Smith." I became very concerned. Then that's when he walked in.
I see you've taken the liberty of reading Captain Holly's memo.
So you must be my new partner. Chief knows I don't work well with others.
Yes, so I understand, but Captain insisted he feels you need a little helping hand.
And you know all this, Mr.
Detective Collins, recently promoted.
At first, I thought this promotion set up by Captain Holly was arranged too soon. I was only just starting to enjoy success with my traffic-related investigations, but he stood firm with the idea of bringing me in under the wing of a veteran.
The Captain thought it was about time, and he thinks you need some help for your veteran state, detective.
I don't need help.
Yes, I'm beginning to get that vibe, but Captain thought it was for the best. Not just for me and you, for the people we're supposed to be protecting.
Why would he give me a partner now? Holly knows my style and how I choose to work. Dumping a rookie on my lap just doesn't make any sense to me, if I'm fatigued or not. But from what I gathered, we're dealing with a murder victim. Young woman, 20s, possibly caused of death, strangulation, abuse, maybe even rape.
Any suspects so far?
I apprehended a Mr. Jim Crockett stumbling around the scene of the crime earlier. It's safe to say we could just sing like a canary.
I don't know if there was any bad blood between Holly and the detective, but there was certainly some tension about me having to partner up. He seemed too lax to be an established veteran and also somewhat reclusive. He wasn't involved with the idea of having to bring me up and support me. I remember at the time I felt some concern, but also resilience.
Look, we've got Crockett back at the station, but to be completely honest, I think we need to further our investigation of the victim itself. I've arranged a meeting with the coroner this evening, so unless you've got anything better to do, I'd say we make a move and get this investigation on the way.
I'm all yours, Detective Smith. I think this might be a successful partnership.
You're damn right, it's going to be successful. I keep myself to myself. I respect his attempts to soften the tone, but this is business. I was more focused on what the coroner needed to say than trying to cradle Collins into this investigation process. I decided to let him take the wheels and discuss with the coroner what needed to be known. He was tentative, but I had to throw him into the deep end, show him what he got himself in for.
Bruise into the face. Very heavy. Any theories? While there remained a lingering theme of Smith handing me the dirty work during the investigation, it was nonetheless gracious of him to provide the opportunity. To be that close to what we were investigating became a good learning experience in regards to knowing what your job is and knowing what's on the line. I felt like our discussions with the coroner went well. Our theories together created a strong foundation for questioning our first suspect and any others we might discover.
So you're suggesting that the cause of death was a strangulation?
Perhaps. The burn of the rope appears fresher, vibrant compared to the bruises that appear to have been indicated slightly prior. This can also mean that the use of the word to the throat took more out of the victim than assault to the face.
Did you get my report about the suspected time of death?
I did, slightly broad, but nearly there. The temperature of the body taken at the scene of the crime suggested a death of around 2 a.m.
Who exactly is our victim, Coroner?
Now we were able to locate her personal file. Her name is Isabella Bonum, aged 25 years, apparently unemployed when her death occurred, but recently worked within law.
Any recorded family relationships or anything?
Not by a record, seemed to be a mere lonely young woman struggling to get by, until she couldn't.
Hang on. Let's not start these petty excuses. If that is the case, then we're just wasting our time.
I'm not saying it's definitely a suicide, only that something under these circumstances could trigger this sort of psychological collapse.
Well, thank you, Coroner. We'll keep your advice in mind.
Always a pleasure.
My explorations of the bar would have gone smoother if not for the absence of Detective Smith. He communicated to me out of the blue, stating he needed some kind of rest or sanctuary. I didn't really know what he meant. I figured it was some kind of veteran custom. The music towards the rear of the bar hit me immediately. The dance classes written on the back of the business cards now had a foundation, which was a relief, and a motivation to figure out who was behind that side of the bar.
Hola amigo, are you looking for somebody? I mean, you're only a few hours early for the class.
I'm investigating the possible murder of a young woman not far from here. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Why me? I haven't done anything.
I'm not accusing you of anything, but our sources point to this bar and to you. If you could cooperate, we'd most appreciate it.
Okay, well, I guess I can answer some questions for you.
I suppose the first question to ask is your name.
Yeah, well, my name is Misael Cordero Puebla. I teach salsa here every Tuesday in the evening. I'm originally from Cuba, so my English is not very great, so sorry about that.
Do you know of an Isabella Bonum?
I know many people that come here, and I know many of the ladies, of course, but can you define her for me, please?
She had long brown hair, quite tall, blue eyes, a slim figure.
Okay.
She used to work in law until she was made unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a photo of her here, although it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah. Ooh, ay. Poor thing. Yeah, yes, I do remember her. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
She was dismissed from her job a few weeks before the murder occurred. Did you notice any significant changes in her character when she was made unemployed?
Oh yes. It was very sad, to be honest, to see her the few weeks afterward. She seemed so out of touch, and like she needed help. She lost confidence. Didn't seem like she enjoyed herself afterward, to be honest.
Speaking of needing help, did she speak to anyone else other than yourself in the classes?
Well, I don't remember anybody who she talked to except myself, sorry.
Misael, please. I can see the doubt in your face from a mile off. We need this link. We're so close. I need you to come clean.
Okay, man. Take it easy, okay? For a while, this slick guy, always was trying to get in to talk to her, but it didn't really work out for him, though.
Can you tell me more about this slick guy? It sounds like you're not very keen on him.
No, he was a drunk guy, but I didn't really like him, to be honest, myself. He came across as dark, never positive, miserable he was. I always, I invite him to my classes and open him up. I even gave him my business card to see if he considered, to join the classes, but it never really worked out, to be honest.
Does this man have a name?
Yes, I think his name was Crockett. I heard his name through across the park, but I never asked for it myself, sorry.
It just so happens that Jim Crockett is the man we placed into custody at the scene of the crime.
Well, what a coincidence. Why are you wasting your time here anyway, detective? You should be arresting this man and locking him up.
Let's not get carried away. We have him in custody as we speak. I haven't finished my questioning yet. I seem to know our Mr. Crockett very well in relation to our victim. Was there anybody else who attempted to talk to Miss Bonum?
No. He's the only guy I can think of. I'm really sure about that.
Surely there must have been other men who tried.
Okay, relax, okay? There is another guy, but this guy is not the sort of person to get into stuff like that. I'm really sure about that.
Misael, you need to tell me all you know, even if you don't want to.
Look, this is very difficult for me, okay? His name is Fidel Timar. He's a very good friend of mine, actually. He's a party animal as well. He's the type of person to get what he wants as soon as he sees it.
Interesting. So how did their conversations pan out?
Well, from what I can remember, it was Fidel who talked to the girl first, always, the one to make a move and show what he got. But for a little while, things were quite timid, small talk and stuff like that, but nothing so much.
But?
It was when the girl lost her job, things began to change, and she, she began talking to him a bit more often, like she knew something that he had, that will help her out, if you know what I mean.
Let me guess, your party boy has a deep wallet.
Yes, sir. Your guesses are correct. He has some sort of inheritance or whatever. I'm not really sure about that. But he has no job. Just time to meet many people and get into whatever deal.
It would be best, Misael, if you could tell me exactly where he is. He might be trying to lure himself into another deal with our victim.
Well, I don't know where he is.
Thank you, Misael. That's all I need.
Okay, thank you.
Free to go.
What were you doing talking to Misael, Fidel?
What? Can't the compadre come to say hi to his old-time pal?
That's real funny. I saw you hesitate the moment you saw us.
What kind of gentleman would walk in a conversation?
I saw you run off pretty quick. Having to document your conversation as well. Some few interesting things I heard.
You're way over your head, detective. But come on, take me in. Give it your best shot.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from the bar?
Those two business cards you showed me at the scene of the crime, they're linked to a certain Misael. He's a salsa teacher at the bar.
And what did he have to say?
You know our victim well. He portrayed her as someone pure, sensible, but vulnerable.
And Crockett?
Yeah. Spoke about him with some disgust. Drunk, dark, and something of a creep.
What was the relationship between the two?
Nothing overt. Misael mentioned some attempts from Mr. Crockett to communicate with our victim, but well, no such luck.
An unwelcome presence. Convinced yet, Collins?
Fairly. Until he mentioned a certain Fidel.
Fidel?
Timar. Mr. Fidel Timar. Misael's good friend, party animal, and blessed with some form of inheritance. He even evaded our discussion. He didn't seem too pleased with my presence.
In what way?
I don't think he liked Misael talking about him in such an open manner. I figured it was him based on his reaction, so I took action. Followed him from the bar, out of an alleyways. I apprehended him without too much bother.
What did you find out after you apprehended him?
Not so much on the details, but his vibe was arrogant, somewhat feisty. Just wanted to watch out for the interrogation.
Okay, well, we've got 2 suspects to interrogate. Now, I know you're new to all this, Collins, but I feel pretty confident that you can handle him by yourself.
Well, I appreciate the rare compliment, Detective. I'm still not convinced on Mr. Crockett, though. I think he's been brought into this by misfortune.
After the interrogation, I think you'll get some convincing.
Crockett was, at first, a lot to handle. His vulnerability was obvious. He was anxious, stressed, and depressed. It took some time to calm him to a confessable level.
Why do you drink, Crockett? Surely it must affect your lifestyle.
Somewhat. But you can cover that with seasickness. I just clean and tie the boats every day. It's nothing spectacular, but it keeps me busy 7 hours most days.
So why do you go to this bar and drink?
It's the surroundings, I guess. Like the music and the people. I mean, they don't really talk much around me, but the vibe is enough to keep me going back there.
Is there anyone there who you kept in close contact with?
No, just the barmaids who were on shift.
Is there anyone there you attempted to contact?
No, I just stick to my drinking.
Crockett, we know you attempted to contact our victim. We have the confession of Misael. Now, he didn't speak about you with much spirit. Do you care to explain?
He was never too fond of me, even when I was just drinking. I did see her one night. She was dancing and she looked so mouth-watering. So I went up to her and I did strike up a conversation. I tried to, and he saw this and he came over and started trying to dance with me and trying to get me to move away from her.
And did you?
No, I was never too fond of dancing. He kept pressing it. Just kept going until it was time for her to leave. It was like he didn't want me anywhere near her. So I kept my distance from then on, but you can never stop watching.
How did you react to other gentlemen at the bar trying to approach her?
Nobody else spoke to her.
Crockett, we have Mr. Timar in custody as we speak.
I hated him. Always arriving unannounced, unexpected. He wanted everything from her.
And did she tag along, so to speak?
No, not at first.
But eventually?
Yeah. Something happened. She lost her shine. She became desperate. She needed money, I guess, and he had money.
Are you saying that Mr. Timar had a strong connection with Miss Bonum?
Yes. She stuck to him like gum. Makes me cringe to think the things that she had to do for him.
I can see what you're hinting at, Mr. Crockett.
No one that delicate, beautiful, should have to sell themselves like that.
Are you saying you knew about this deed?
No, I'm only suggesting.
You talked to him, though, didn't you, Crockett?
He approached me. He wanted to talk about her.
When was this?
That night.
The night she was murdered?
Yeah. He came up to me in the bar and convinced me to go outside, and then I saw them together and they were walking away. I walked home along the path at the top of the waterfront.
And then what happened?
I don't remember. I was too drunk. The next thing I know, I'm waking up on the waterfront and she's just lying there. And then that detective just comes out of nowhere and grabs me and brings me in.
Why did he talk to you that night, Crockett?
He asked for a favour. I don't remember.
You've helped so much so far. I'm not talking to you as a suspect, but as a witness. What did he say?
You had to take care of some business. He wanted me to make sure she got to his place on time.
So he asked you to follow her?
No, it's not like that.
And why did you do it, Crockett?
Because he knew. He knew how much I'd love to watch her dance. He's not the kind of man you say no to. He always gets what he wants.
In a sticky situation. You followed her the night before. Along the area she was found murdered. You were there in the morning. And your interpretation of her makes some very disturbing suspicion. But, having said that, you have revealed Mr. Timar's role in all of this, so for that at least we won't convict you. Nonetheless, you're not off the hook yet. In due time we'll conclude our business. I could see where Smith was coming from. There was something very dark about him when he spoke about Miss Bonum. He was clearly obsessed with her, mainly in regards to attracting her attention. His drinking issues were obvious as well. He seemed out of it. The night of the murder became a vital statement in his alibi, bringing Mr. Timar into the fray on a solid level. If there was some means of gathering up more from that event, well, then the suspicion of Timar would rise greatly. As I left the room, I could only hope that Smith could gather up such information from him.
So what's to stop you being convinced, Collins?
He's vulnerable.
Vulnerable? Vulnerable enough to snap?
Or perhaps vulnerable enough to not even take a step without worry. Don't take vulnerability the wrong route.
How exactly?
Vulnerability doesn't always lead to anger.
But it might, Collins.
Might, Smith, isn't a guarantee. He talked about concern and doubt. He was clouded with anxiety. I mean, I can see how he's sensitive to talk about his alcohol troubles, his relationship with the victim. But to assume he's going to fly into a dangerous rage, well, that needs a basis.
Did you get anything significant out of him?
He calmed down. He spoke of his alcohol troubles, his job, his desire for our victim. To assume he's a stalker, there's no doubt in my mind. One more thing to note, Smith, which had been discussed with Mr. Timar.
Which is?
He talked about the night of the murder. He said he saw our victim there. He said he also saw Mr. Timar there. The last thing he remembers is a conversation with him outside the bar at about 11 p.m.
I'll make sure I'll get him to expand on that. So, Mr. Timar.
About time, detective. I've got business to deal with, instead of being dragged in here.
Now you pipe down, or it's gonna get nasty. Fidel was... he was a tough nut to crack. He was sly with his movements, and he did a great job of attempting to hide the truth. Looking back at it, there were times when he actually did. We are well aware, Fidel, of your little escapades with Miss Bonum over the past week. So you're going to tell me about her?
What is there to tell? I mean, she was gorgeous and everything, but I barely knew her.
We've already got Misael, who's provided a detailed alibi of your contact with her.
So we were talking here and there, Like I said, I know many women, detective. It takes quite a while to stand out for one in my mind.
You certainly stood out in her eyes, in more ways than one.
And who else might be conspiring against me, detective?
Jim Crockett.
Really? That creep? He was trying to slobber all over her, that poor girl, for weeks. All I could do was lighten up her little world, away from stalkers like him.
So you don't take too kindly to him either, then?
Who would? Look at him. He's an alcoholic. Everything he does is sitting on a bar, stares you, observes you. There's something very disturbing about him.
But you knew him, didn't you, Fidel? Why did you talk to him?
I needed his help.
What with? To ensure your little booty project made it to your place in one piece?
What are you talking about?
Jim Crockett confessed that he approached you on the night of the murder because you had some business for him to take care of.
So, what does this have to do with all of this?
Because, Fidel, we are well aware of your business with Miss Bonum. I mean, come on. A girl who barely knows you approaches you after she loses her job, and then approaches you again, and again, and again, and again. She needed the money. And you had it. And more. But let's be frank. You weren't going to let that girl walk away with that kind of dough without her paying you back in some way, was you?
You're out of your mind, detective.
Let me finish, Pedro. I mean, you said it yourself. You liked your slice of the ladies, didn't you? You slept her out. Drained the poor girl of every bit of spirit she had. And for what? Just so she can get by.
It's not like that. Yeah, it's true. She needed the money. But who wouldn't offer someone like her another helping hand?
Let me tell you something then. Both the confessions we got from Crockett and from Misael match this theory perfectly. I mean, let's be honest. The girl gets her money. She can live her life. You get what you want. And a little crumpet as well.
So where to now, detective? Okay, you got me. You're right. I'm your classic two-timer slice. Bravo. But tell me this. Would have that really killed her?
I can see through your wit. You know what I see? I see a lost little boy who can't go through life without his little pleasures.
What can I say? I enjoy getting what I desire.
So ask me this. How did you react when she finally said no?
What?
I believe one night she finally turned you down. I mean, after all, she got what she wanted. She just wanted to cut the ties. I bet that made you very angry. How would you have acted if that would have been the word on the street?
I do not know what you're talking about.
See, you can't even accept it now. I bet it made you very angry. Angry, bitter, spoilt. I bet you couldn't physically let her refuse, could you? I mean, what'd you do? Did you let her walk out there freely with her own will? And then track her down? And, well, you should be able to figure the rest out yourself.
Aren't you forgetting somebody in all of this? What about that creep, Crockett? That night, when I talked to him, the moment he saw her in my arm, I saw the anger in his face. He could not bear it.
Smart, Fidel. Very smart. See, you've opened up a gateway of scenarios. But here's the thing. Your name is stamped on every single one of them. I mean, maybe Crockett did lose his rag and follow her afterwards. I mean, he is the perverted alcoholic stalker of which you speak. Detective Collins and I have learned to accept that.
There you go, detective. Bravo. Why keep me here any longer?
Because you could have persuaded him. See, Crockett could have murdered her. And then the blood would have been on his hands. You would have gone away scot-free. And with your dignity intact. Anyway. This concludes this interview. But you best buckle down your belt and get cosy. Because I'm not finished with you yet.
It became a waiting game after that, with patience being tested to its full. I remember Smith exiting the room, clearly with something on his mind and needing to be discussed.
Can't be Crockett.
What did you say that?
Circumstantial.
Circumstantial? How?
Fidel's involved. It's not just Crockett. You know he's behind it.
Nah. Fidel's got too much to lose. He wouldn't be involved over some hoochie.
Oh, come on. How many people have we seen walk through here that have had so much to lose they do it anyway?
Look, Crockett obsessed over that slut. You know he's guilty. Fidel, he's got loads of women at his feet. He's not going to mess around with her.
Fishy kind.
Nah, you're wrong. You're wrong.
What if I'm not?
Trust me, you're wrong. We both had strong opinions of our own guys. Seemed like we both genuinely wanted our preferred suspects to be convicted and charged. He seemed to handle my aggression well. I thought he'd fold like paper and just let my theory boil all over him.
How could we even think of charging someone based on assumption? Crockett was a stalker, sure. But was he a criminal? Impartially, yes, but to pin all of this on something outside of the murder itself was too much of a stretch. We had as much on Crockett as we did of Mr. Timar, and I was resilient in keeping both of them in the frame.
When it was all said and done, I feel like we took down the right guy. I can look back on the investigation beyond the tension with Collins and the possible morale burden of our choice. But we made the right choice. For the people. People who we tried to protect.
Conclusively, for the sake of the community, we convicted the criminal. Looking back on the investigation, it was our aim to convict whoever was most damaging to the community. While there were moments of tension in regards to convicting the criminal in all of this, we not only reached our aim, but we influenced it as well.